Hello and welcome to Open Your Mind Radio. You have myself, Alan James.
And you have myself, Stephen George. Good evening.
Good evening. It's Sunday, the 27th of September 2015, and we're still here. We didn't get hit by an asteroid. Fantastic stuff.
Well, not that we're aware of, anyway.
Yeah, you know what?
We could be dead. This could be just
the only thing
something else.
The only thing that's going to be incoming is hemorrhoids, not asteroids, because we're sitting on the fence all the time. That's what we're going to get, hemorrhoids, incoming hemorrhoids.
Splinters in your hemorrhoids.
Exactly. Now, tomorrow is the 28th, and supposedly, apparently, so it's been said out there in the ether, that the energy of the planet is changing, and apparently 2.3 billion people are going to have their consciousness raised to 5D. Not physically, just their actual consciousness. Will it happen? I don't know.
Does that mean, when this happens, when we wake up, so to speak, that it's going to be like that scene in The Matrix when Neo realizes he is the one, and we just see everything in code, in green?
Haven't it?
Because that would be a disappointment.
We're going back to the old computer days and black and white screens, or green and black screens. I don't know, to be honest with you. Is it all kind of woo-woo, new age stuff? I don't know. That's what's being said. Now, we do have a blood moon tonight, so that's going to be quite interesting. People will be able to stay up late and have a look at that if you want to see it. We'll talk about that later. Now, the guest that we have on tonight, we were going to plan to try and have Catherine Albrecht on the show, but Catherine is just, she's a moving target, and she, and I mean that in the best way I can, but she's very, very busy, and we just couldn't nail her down this week to actually even get a pre-record because she's very busy, so we will aim to do that. However, we do have a great guest for the show tonight, a chap called Will Berlinghof, who will be talking about CERN, Planet X, energies hitting the planet, and we'll find out a bit as to what's going on and what's his take on what's happening on the planet and everything that's going on, and see what he thinks. And get his point of view on it. But before we do anything else, of course, we'll find out what the communication channels are.
Yes, we will. Communication channels this evening are...
The communication channels are email info@oymireland.com, by phone 046 927 1212, and you can also contact us direct through the OYM chat room.
Thank you, Mary. Yes, 046 927 1212 is the number for the studio this evening. If you want to ring in from outside the Republic of Ireland, it's 00353 469 271212. That phone number is also on the website as well. Speaking of the website, OYMradio.com is the place to be. You can check us out there. You can find out all the information. The link to the Facebook, the anti-social media, is there. Also, you can see the link for the Facebook, the YouTube, and also the OYM Radio. Not the OYM Radio, the TuneIn Radio link. I think everyone has that on their smartphone, on their iPhone, and their Apple iPads, and this, that, and the other. But the TuneIn Radio link, just fire that up and type in Open Your Mind. You will find us on there as well. And we also have 3 streams on the website there as well. We're streaming on our own stream. We're streaming on the People's Internet Radio stream, and also United We Strike in the good old US of A. And I think that's... we have the chat room as well. Sorry, we have the two chat rooms that we're going to monitor for questions. That's our own chat room, which is on the website again, OYMradio.com, and also People's Internet Radio. So big hi to everyone that's logged in there.
Don't be afraid to phone in, 046 927 1212. And you can chat to us and the guest in a few minutes. Now, actually just sidetracking a bit, you mentioned about the Apple iPads. Now, you heard, what Michael Newton said in the press.
I seen that on Facebook. I thought that was a joke. Was that not a joke?
No, apparently he's suggesting that all kids over the age of 6 or something all have an iPad.
Really?
Yeah. Now, he didn't say tablet. He said iPad. Now, was that a Freudian slip, or did he say that for a reason?
I think that's product placement / promotion.
Because the fact that Apple have all this tax that they should be paying, and the government are saying, we don't want your tax. God, no, we'll get it off the people of Ireland.
Yes, we'll take it the way, we'll get it the usual way.
Yeah.
By flogging the people.
Yeah. If there's any countries out there that want to know how to get blood out of a stone, come to Ireland, because the Irish government know how to do it.
They've been doing it for years, they're well versed.
Yeah, and they're still doing it. Right. Right, now, a couple of weeks ago, we had Alison on from the Fireburn Doctors, and Alison gave us some great information. She contacted us during the week, just a quick note, and she said that 3 people had listened to the OYM radio show, and they contacted the Fireburn Doctors.
Sorry, hang on. There was more than 3 people listening.
Oh, there was more than... Yeah.
It just happened. The 3 people contacted her.
Yeah, there's more than 3 people listening, but 3 people who heard the show actually went and contacted Alison. And she said she's pleased to say that they are now sorted. 2 people had burns and 1 person had shingles, and they're now sorted. So well done. And if them people are listening, if they can give us a ring and contact us, we'd like to have a chat with you and talk about your experience and let us know how you got on. That'd be fantastic. The other thing that's on the list here is, you probably heard, I mean, for our international listeners as well, Ireland is becoming a very fascist state, and I mean, talk about the totalitarian tiptoe. It's more like a totalitarian run at the moment, and it's just gone bonkers. I mean, the police force, which is the Gardaí, are controlled by business now, corporations. Dennis O'Brien, who's a billionaire, who's involved with the Trilateral Commission, and we all call it Dennis O'Brien's private army. They're not the police anymore. But basically, the Gardaí, one of the other things that the Gardaí are doing, would you believe, is they keep shutting down a stall that's helping to feed the homeless in Dublin. Now, I really, really am miffed as to what goes through the brains of these people, these police, the Gardaí, that they're closing down. There's a group of people there off their own back helping to feed the homeless, and they're going up shutting down the stall. You know, I mean, what is wrong with these people? There's something mentally wrong. I'm sure when they go to Templemore, there's MK Ultra NLP techniques being used on them. There must be. How can somebody go in? I mean, I did hear this, that somebody told me that somebody they knew, when they went in as a police recruit, they came out and he said it might as well be a completely different person, because they weren't the same person that went in that came out. So they're definitely using some kind of MK Ultra NLP techniques with the Gardaí. They have to be, because they can't be that soulless and lack the empathy. You know, I mean, I can understand, you know, maybe double parking and stuff like that, but they shut down the stall of people helping the homeless. I mean, that's just plain sick and sadistic. And that's just how I feel about it. You know, I mean, that's just my own opinion.
I think we're following in the Americans' footsteps. Didn't they pass some law? I don't know if it was nationwide or just depending on state, whatever state we're in, but wasn't there a law passed there possibly last year stating that it was illegal to feed the homeless?
Yeah, totally, yeah. And it was illegal to be homeless. That was the other law.
Even better. Right?
It was illegal to be arrested. I mean, that's, in a way, that's quite good, because if you get arrested and you go to jail, you'll be in a warm cell with 3 meals a day, so that's not too bad, I suppose. Anyway, how's your week?
Yeah, well, your week is, I'm sorry, that wasn't your week, that was just the notes, sorry. No, my week's been kind of interesting, as I noticed this morning, and I said to Alan when I come up this evening, that the amount of spraying going on, I know we said a couple of weeks back that there was something allegedly going on where the people who control all the chemtrails, there was a little bit of argy-bargy going on, and the chemtrails had kind of ceased, or at least had been reduced. But I noticed there this morning, I went out the back to put something in the rubbish bin and just glanced up, as I do on a daily basis, I'm sure we all do, and the amount of trails up there was horrible. My heart sank when I seen it, and that wasn't the only time my heart sank today. But when I seen that the amount of spraying going on, I was disgusted. But you know, obviously it's business as usual for the chemtrailers. So that was incident number 1 when my heart sank. The second was when I was just checking out some stuff on the internet, and I seen a report that a young baby, an infant, had died over in the UK in a place called Bournemouth. And again, I didn't read the whole story, but the first paragraph and the title was enough. But the family had found themselves in hard times. They ended up, and we're talking about homeless, they ended up homeless, so they had to sleep in their car, and their infant son died. Now, from what they're saying in the report, the cause of death has yet to be disclosed. But I mean, the fact that this young couple were homeless with an infant, that's, you know, I mean, that's. It's sickened. It really sickens me.
It's unacceptable, you know. It really is.
And then again, this week in Ireland, we've had the second one that we know about. We've had a homeless man. He was actually found dead. Now that has happened before, and it was brought to the government's attention, and but this has happened again. It'll again be brought to the government's attention, but they're not going to do anything about it. In fact, there was a report that Gardaí were seen in the city centre. I believe it was yesterday, of their full riot gear, parked in a street. I can't remember the name of the street, but they're in full riot gear. What were they waiting for? I don't know. But they're waiting for something, and the person who kind of done this report said they looked like wrestlers. They were that big and bulky. So obviously the biggest and burliest were sent out yesterday for something. And again, as Alan said about like the people who are coming out of Templemore, they obviously go in as caring human beings, but when they're coming out and hitting the streets, it's like they have been programmed. It is kind of like MK Ultra. From what we've seen and what we've read and heard from people who involved in MK Ultra, it's definitely mind control, because even on Facebook, the anti-social media I've seen there during the week, there's people again, and it's still happening over here in Ireland. The people are protesting for the Dennis O'Brien and the water meter installers. Great progress made in various counties across the country with that, but the Gardaí are still turning up, and they're pushing and shoving and arresting people for no apparent reason. One man was actually arrested for simply asking a question. He was the head of a residents' association, and when they came into his area, he walked up to the guard and he asked a simple question, and there's a bit of music.
What the hell was that?
That was me. I don't know who it was. I've never heard that song before. Yes. Anyway,
that's weird.
So that is weird. But he was arrested on the spot, and obviously the people there were screaming and shouting, "Leave him alone and don't be putting the cuffs on him." He was an elderly gentleman, but they arrested him anyway, and that's kind of the way it's going. And it saddens me to say. And again, what I'm going to say now is just my own personal feelings, has nothing to do with OYM or People's Internet Radio. This is just my feelings, and I, Stephen, feel that peaceful protests are not working. I know Gandhi would probably differ, but I don't think it's working. In fact, I think when the Gardaí are out there dressed up for riot gear, because that's what they're expecting, I think our forefathers are turning in their graves because of what they fought for. And the way the country has gone now, they died for nothing. And it's coming up in 2016, on the 100th year anniversary of the 1916 Rising. And I think the people have to rise up. I'm sorry for saying that, but the peaceful protest just doesn't cut the mustard anymore. I think when the Gardaí are pushing our people, instead of standing there and chanting, "Shame on you," we should be pushing back. Because I think that kind of leads to a level playing field. And if the guards know, if they know the rules, then they might behave a little differently. Because at the moment, the rules are, Gardaí do whatever the hell they want, and people accept it and chant some slogans, and that's it. And I think that's wrong. It has to change. And again, that's just my own personal feelings based on incidents that I've seen and witnessed during the week, and also on anti-social media. Anyway, rant over. How was your week?
Yeah, well, funny, I'm going to kind of add to what you said there about the resident down in Waterford. There's another number of people arrested again on the water protests. And yes, I know people want to get out and demonstrate and everything else. And partly it does work, part of it does work. But it's just complete civil disobedience, because they're trying to get as much money as they can off us. Whether it's siphoned to the global elite for their underground bases, I don't know. But they're just trying to get enough money off us in whatever way they can. They had this new rule as well, a new thing that they want to bring out, like in Europe, where you have to have a fluorescent jacket and a triangle and a torch and a flux capacitor in your boot, and you have to have them by law, and if you don't have them, it's a £50 or €50 fine and 3 points on your license. I mean, it's just ridiculous, really is.
Yeah, I think, look, that's crazy carry on. So if you don't have these items in your car, you're going to be fined. Well, I think that's a step too far. I'm sorry for interrupting, but I think that's a step too far. That's really letting us know you're in the police state now. And speaking of the police state, we have these speed camera detection vans that are, they're mobile units, and you may find them anywhere throughout the country, but there's a lot of kind of warning signs that there may be one ahead to kind of put you on your guard. But all across the country, there's more signs gone up. There's a couple of towns, a couple of villages that I travel through on a daily basis on the way to work, and they're small villages. I mean, as they say, they're so small, the speed limit signs are back to back. But one of them, they've got two of those signs up saying there may be a speed camera. And we've actually seen some information during the week. I think we may have mentioned it last week, that says what these speed detection vans are, what they're doing. It's wrong and it's illegal, and you can actually challenge it. And one man has already challenged it in court. I think he asked to see a license whereby there was some contract between the Gardaí and the crowd that operate these vans. He asked to see the license, and as soon as he asked that question, there was a ruckus in the court, and his case was thrown out. I think it was a speeding fine he was in for, but it was thrown out of the court. But that's unfortunately that's the kind of state the state of the nation at this moment in time.
Okay.
Sorry for interrupting.
That's okay. Just a few more things. If people are hearing music, by the way, on the OYM player, just refresh your browser. Do a refresh, because we had a crash just before we went live, and we had to restart. And so you just need to refresh your browser. I'll close down your browser and open it up again. If you can do that, that would be fine. That should hopefully sort out. Now, as I said, there's going to be a full blood red moon tonight. There's a good few people going down to the Hill of Tara as well, to see the full blood red moon and to take a few photos and stuff like that. So if you are in that neck of the woods, you can always head down there. There's going to be a group of people down there. The other two things before we bring our guest in is we have a listener, a long-time listener and supporter of OYM, Chris. We'd just like to say condolences, Chris. We know you got some bad news during the week there. And I think you're on the chat tonight there, so but our condolences with yourself there. Sorry to hear about the bad news. And the other thing as well, I met two listeners during the week. A big hello to Dermot and Sinead. Met Dermot yesterday. Dermot, very nice meeting you there. We had a great chat. And Sinead, again, I was talking to Sinead on the phone, and Sinead has some information there which would be of interest to us, and she's going to see what she can do there and try and get information to us. But just to say hello to them, and it's great to speak to the listeners and get feedback on what they think of the show and all that kind of stuff. We try and do what we can and get the information out there and have a wide variety of guests on the show. And a wide variety of subjects, But, right, we're going to get our guest on now. I think we've gabbled on enough and caught up on the things that went on during the week. Now, our guest on tonight is Will Berlinghof, and Steve is going to tell us all about Will.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you about Will. Will Berlinghof. Will is an amazingly gifted individual who has profoundly touched and changed people's lives for over 30 years. Aside from working at deep, multi-dimensional levels, Will also has extensive experience in traditional counselling. He has a BA degree in psychology with practical training in addition to counselling, as well as group therapy and individual counselling sessions. Furthermore, Will has been the voice of cosmic awareness for over 10 years. Cosmic awareness is the force of consciousness that spoke through those such as Edgar, Cayce, Jesus and Buddha, and who speaks again today through Will Berlinghof as the world goes through these critical transformational times. Will has a natural gift to lead his clients on a deep inner journey of self-discovery and self-healing. His approach is innovative, cutting-edge and powerful in its impact, while at the same time is compassionate and sensitive. Due to his natural psychic abilities, Will is able to journey with his clients into the inner realms and thus is able to assist them on their inner quests. Will has been on television and radio a number of times and has had articles published in various magazines. As a result, he has gained international repute and clients from around the world.
Excellent stuff, Steve. Thanks a lot. Will, good evening. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, and greetings from Australia.
Yeah, I should say good morning. So it's about 20 past 3 in the morning in Australia over there.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Excellent. So
luckily, I'm a night owl, so
yeah,
it's not too bad.
Fair play to you for coming on at this time in the morning. Will, thanks a lot for coming on. Now, Steve just read out your bio there. Is there anything that you can add to that, or anything that you want to add before we kind of get stuck in and start talking about, the immediate things that it's on everybody's minds regarding CERN, Planet X, and the energies hitting the planet?
Right. Well, the first thing I'd say is, like, I was sitting here listening to it, and I'm thinking, well, he sounds like a pretty interesting bloke. And then I thought, oh, wait a minute, that's me. So
Very good.
Had a bit of a laugh over it, actually. What I would say in addition to that is, when that was written a few months ago, I think we updated it. It was very relevant to that time, trying to express the kind of two hats I wear. One is as a counselor, a spiritual counselor, and the other is as a channeler of that force of consciousness that calls itself cosmic awareness. And wearing these two hats is really a very interesting thing, because on one level I'm working from a multi-dimensional level of consciousness, and then at the other I'm working at a very, very personal level with the individual. I also achieve that when I do personal cosmic awareness consultation readings, as it calls it. And it's really good to have that feeling that you're out there, you're making a difference both on a personal level and as well on that public level. But there's been advances, there's been growth even since that time when I did this update. And so I would say that what I had then, I've got even more now. It sounds a bit vain perhaps, but it's an intuitive inner process. So the growth is continuing. I always hold for my standard the fact that I have to grow. I have to get better. I do not want to be complacent. I do not want to sit on my laurels. It's like, doesn't matter what was said 6 months ago. What's relevant now is that I'm here now, and the force, the energies that are happening are really escalating everything, and I'm finding that happening in my personal life and the work I'm doing.
Okay, because we've heard about the energies hitting the planet, whether you want to call it Wave X, or if somebody wants to give it another name. And you heard me earlier mention about the 2.3 billion people on the planet will have their consciousness raised to 5D tomorrow, or they're saying at the end of September, the 28th is the day. Is this all kind of new age woo-woo stuff? I mean, do we really take it on board, or is somebody trying to pull the wool over our eyes?
Well, first of all, I'd say it is new age woo-woo stuff. But at the same time, I have to say that there is something that is happening that could quite explode the paradigms that people hold. Will 2.3 billion ascend tomorrow? No. I seriously doubt that, question that. Will a major proportion of humanity wake up tomorrow and say, oh my God, it's so different today? I don't think so. But I do think that many who have been working with it and looking into it, asking questions, responding to that internal drive, because that's what it is, an internal drive from within that is pushing us to expand ourselves. And I think that they may have had some shift, some experiential kind of experience that will make a big difference to how they see the world and what's happening in this world at this time for them, and in reflection to everyone else, what's happening generally.
So you believe that we've heard that the Schumann frequency of the planet has doubled recently, and this is scientific proof. It's not, again, woo-woo, it's actually been proven.
That's right.
The research is done. So there's definitely something happening to the planet, and there's definitely a level of consciousness on the planet where people are beginning to wake up and see the corruption for themselves and see what's going on. I mean, we're seeing that over here in Ireland. Even if it's only people giving out about the water meters, that's good enough for them to see the corruption of the government and what's taking place, and that the fact they're not happy with that, and they're seeing through it. And all the other countries around the world are in the same position. There's mass demonstrations and demos all around the place. And of course we have the immigration problem going on in Europe as well, and we've heard about that. But what's your take regarding the energies? I mean, what do you think is happening, especially with Wave X and the consciousness of the planet? Do you think that is happening? Is that what you can see from your end?
I absolutely believe that's happening. I think what we're really facing here is a paradigm shift, a new way of looking at reality, a new way of being on this planet as human beings. We have to remember that we've been programmed not just all of our lives, but generation upon generation, and this extending thousands of years back into history. So that we're the product right now of all of that programming, mind control. This isn't new. Mind control is not a new thing. They've been using mind control forever on us. And when I say they, I'll be specific. I believe there is the cabal, those that are the elite, the powers that be, who I'm starting to call the powers that were, that there is some group that is high on that hierarchical structure, that pyramid, and they have had the capacity all of this time to work from a fourth dimensional level and to tailor make their plans so that we have reached a point where they are at their ultimate max point where they have to do this. They have the plan, the agenda, the one world government, the new world order. That's how most people know it. And I think they've come to that point where they're pushing. You mentioned the Guardia. I've seen it with the police force. I mean, just the other day from America, they shot a man in a wheelchair. 8 or 9 cops shot him 20 times because they said he had a weapon. A man in a wheelchair. How more ludicrous does it have to get? But the point I'm really getting at is that this is them coming to their max. But there is a new force that is becoming very activated. That this is something that commenced on December 21st, 2012, that wonderful winter solstice event that most people said nothing happened. But something did happen, deep and profound. A gateway was opened. And coming through is that which I call divine source. You can call it the Godhead, Almighty, all that is, whatever. I don't care what you call it. But something has started, or did start at that time, and has continued ever since. And it's a building of this energy that is rising up slowly, but it is rising up. And right now we happen to be at the very threshold of a major peaking of that energy. That's what this wave X is all about. And I believe truly that this is creating a situation where people are starting to awaken and they're not accepting it anymore.
Yeah.
They're saying no.
Yeah, I definitely think that's taken place. Now, this energy that's hitting the planet, one of the things that we were told about regarding CERN was that CERN is a particle accelerator, the Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland. And basically, they want to use this to explore dark matter and also to try and stop this wave X from hitting the planet. Because if wave X is going to activate DNA or make us more consciously aware of what's going on, they want to stop that and also to open up a portal or a gateway. And obviously bring in dark matter or bring in something. What's your take on CERN? What do you think is going on there?
First, I'll start by saying they don't want to stop it. They must stop it. They need to stop it because if they do not stop it, they know that humans have the capacity, and it's starting more to appear in humans, to rise up and exceed them, move beyond their control. So they need to stop this. And saying that, they tried. I think it was in the middle of September there, to stop it by sending off a shot at the wave that's incoming. Okay?
Yeah.
And it failed. It did not work. In fact, I heard that what actually happened was the electricity that they use. They actually, the use of electricity is so great, what they have to use to fire it up, that they actually tap into the electric grid from France, and that this is what drives the generation of the electricity for this thing to be shot up. Now, what I heard, Simon Parks actually shared this with us, but I've heard it through others too, is that the electrical system in France actually went down. There was this almighty thunderstorm, and the main generators went down, or certainly the ones that would have shunted the power over to CERN, And so they didn't have full power to do this thing, to shoot it at the incoming wave. And as a result, it didn't happen. It couldn't. They didn't have enough electrical juice to fire it up. So to me, right away, that is something that many of us can say, well, that was coincidental. But I'm saying here, it's not coincidental. There are other forces, there are other agencies in consciousness, in humanity, that are intervening now, are starting to become involved. And I really sense that this happened at CERN, and it didn't happen. It was another flop, and it's not the first time that when they fired it up, it puttered out. Okay?
Yeah, no,
so that they tried it. They did try to deflect the wave, bend the wave, because they recognize, this is another point here, it's very important. They recognize there's a threat there. They know that if this wave hits, and they haven't deflected it or done something to mediate that whole effect it has, then it could be for them their Waterloo. It could be for them the beginning of the end. Personally, I think the beginning of the end started a long time ago. But this is how powerful. These people, these ones, they are becoming desperate now.
Yeah, well,
and therefore, they're pulling out all the plugs, all the stops.
Yeah, and everything is speeding up. People are beginning to notice that they're actually getting more blatant, trying to speed things up to bring in their totalitarian state so they can control it because they're running out of time. Now, we were told that the peaking of Wave X was at the end of September, but Dr. Simon Atkins, who came on our show, said no, the peak will be on the 20th of October for Wave X. And even Gordon James Gananoto, he was involved in astrophysics, he said that by December, he said, the world is going to be completely different by December. I don't know, I'm not sure what he means by that. Maybe we have to get Gordon James on the show again. But he said, and even David Wilcox and Corey Good are saying, in 6 months' time, the world is going to be completely different. So we look forward to that in a positive way, but there's an awful lot of talk about the financial reset and the fact that they're going to bring the system down because people are beginning to realize that the banks are insolvent and they're corrupt. So what they need to do is bring in World War III to actually disguise, what's going on. And they have all the bunkers decked out and they're ready to bug out if things get bad. And there's a lot of people, the financial experts, if you go onto YouTube and listen to Gerald Salenti, SG Reports, and a number of the financial experts, they're all saying the same thing, that the system has to come down because it's a massive Ponzi scheme. It has to come down. Mathematically, it has to collapse. Now, where we are going to be, I don't know. And what's going to happen. And I still don't know what the story is between Putin. Is Putin a good guy, or is he just playing the game like, the elites, the cabal are controlling both sides of the chessboard, and Putin is one side? I still don't know. What's your take on it, Steve? What do you think?
Honestly, I've seen Putin, and honestly, my gut feeling is that he's a pawn. He's a pawn. The same as everyone else. He knows the game. And it's now his turn to come out and look like the good guy, if you like, And when they're finished with him, then he'll be thrown into bad light, and the spotlight will be shone on someone else. But I think I've seen a lot of his interviews, and I only watched one there yesterday, and he seems to me like he's a good guy, he's a go-getter. But I think he's controlled as well. I'm sorry, I think he's a puppet in the same game.
Okay, Will.
Well, I'd say, I can't say 100% if he's a good guy or a bad guy, but what I can say is he has identified the corruption of the West. He recognizes the oligarchies and the secret elite ones and everything are a definite threat to his nation. I think he is one who is a nationalist, who is genuine in his love of his country, and he does not want to allow the corruption that he sees in the West coming into Russia. That is one of the biggest reasons why he turned on the oligarchs. And after he did that, that's when he was targeted and labeled. That's when the actions in the Ukraine came about. And we cannot believe half of the rhetoric. I'd say 99% of the bullshit that comes through the television tube and through Reuters and through all the media, because they're giving us their side of it, and they have to paint him as a bad guy. Is he a saint? By no way. No means is he a saint. But is he someone who is standing up to the Western ones, to the corrupt ones? Yeah, I think he is. And he is a damn excellent chess player.
Maybe he's not a saviour for the Western side, but maybe he's just a saviour for Russia. I know his wife apparently came out and said that he's not Putin and he's a clone. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. Again, it's just more, it could be more disinformation. I don't know whether you heard about that, Will.
No, I haven't heard that one. You're talking about his ex-wife or his current wife?
His ex-wife.
Yeah, well, on one level I have to say she might have a personal agenda there. And plus, I can't say who the hell would have given her whatever to get her to say that, or if it was genuine. All I can say is I just watch the situation. I don't support him and I don't oppose him, but I think he's an interesting man, and opposing these who are in the corruption and who are the corruption, I think that's very brave.
Yeah.
And what they're trying to offer, let's face it, they're giving us drinks. He's showing us how it is important for a nation to take care of its people. These are things that the West certainly could learn from.
Well, no, definitely. I mean, if he's doing positive stuff, even if it's only for his people, to me, that's a pretty good sign. Now, I know they've set up the BRICS, and I know there's a lot of countries jumping onto the BRICS and moving away from the IMF, and which is a good thing. Now, I just hope that's not a kind of a rouge to fool people into thinking we're going to have a global currency, which is part of the New World Order, order out of chaos. So that's something that, like, I'm kind of watching and saying, well, is that their plan? That, there's two sides of the chess game, and the BRICS set up and say, oh, we're going to have a new global currency, and then that would be part of the market-shipped culture as well.
Yeah, and that would be something to resist and say no to, absolutely. As I say, I'm not a complete supporter of Putin, but I don't object in some ways for him to stand up and declare himself.
Yeah.
That's very important. And the agenda for economic situations the world over, I mean, let's face it, this whole thing with the petrodollar, the international currency being the American dollar, has created a situation that has enslaved many nations to it. And they have a stranglehold on many nations because of that. And that's part of their power base, and that is perhaps something that needs to be broken. The whole banking system and the banksters that are behind it, let's admit it, these people are not worried about you and I, folks. They're worried about themselves. What is their profit margin? And this is something that is, you can trace it back historically. The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers in America, the Queen and the City of London, they have had an agenda, and it's been working for a long time. It's economic enslavement. Everyone's working for the almighty dollar or the euro or the pound sterling, whatever, but they've become slaves to the system. And I think at some point the system has to collapse. If we allow another system just to replace it and then take us into that one world currency and everything, then we're fools to have wasted that chance at freedom. But I think we are being given a chance. Whether it's all going to collapse next week or in 2 years, I don't know. But there are changes that are coming, and we just have to support the changes. Yeah,
one of the things I was listening today, I was listening to a financial expert talk about the system, and he was saying, and I've heard this before, where he said that the elites are just getting their house in order. They're getting everything ready. And when they are ready, well, then they will pull the plug on the financial system. Now, it could be, like it's already happened in Greece. We've seen it in Greece where the bank slows down for a week, and there was a man trying to get his money out for his medicine, and he couldn't get it. And they also had the bail-in in Cyprus. And if you go onto Reuters on the internet and type in Reuters bail-in, it'll actually tell you that all the European banks have all had to sign up to a bail-in at the end of June. So they're obviously planning to do a bail-in, and Rob, that will be the last push. Before the banking system collapses, they will do the bail-in, they'll rob everybody's money, and then they'll collapse the system. Now, maybe that's their last-ditch attempt at trying to get away with things and try to break the system. And maybe the reset will kick in 3 weeks later, by maybe the BRICS or Putin or whoever's doing the reset, and maybe that's what we have to wait on. I mean, we know the system has to collapse, right? It's inevitable that it's going to collapse because it cannot continue. As to how long it's going to take to bring the system back up, if there's a new system ready, which we've heard there is a new system ready, then we don't know. And this is where the whole idea of prepping is. Forget about energy waves and Planet X and all that stuff for a minute. Let's go down to brass tacks. If the financial system, if the banks close down, we know they're insolvent, and we're, the fair play to everybody who's now attacking the banks and asking them about paperwork and the legitimacy of the paperwork, and whether, that we don't want a copy, we want the actual original copy. This is all happening now all over the world. People are challenging the banks. The banks are beginning to realise that they're being caught out, and people are beginning to wake up to it. And this is why I think this is going to be the escalation for the system to come down. But that's just my take on it. Steve, what's your take on it?
Look, at the end of the day, I think there's so much going on that we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, yeah, maybe they're doing all this thing with the BRICS countries, and maybe it's all a rouge, as Alan said. We don't know. I mean, there is so much going on, and like we think we've got issues here in Ireland, but when you actually look at the broader spectrum, you kind of realise that the same issues that we have here are reflected in just about every other country. And at the end of the day, it's all orchestrated. The whole system is going to crash, as Alan said. It has to crash. But I mean, I wonder, are we the only people who've ever said that? I mean, like in the lifetime, or whatever. I mean, did people 100 years ago say, "Oh, the system is going to crash; it has to crash," or have we just reached the pinnacle now where it is going to crash? I don't know.
Well, Will, what's your take on it? Where do you see the financial system going, and where we're at the moment? What's your take on it from where you're sitting?
Well, first of all, the system has crashed many times over, and yet people come forward, people come through it. Yes, it makes life difficult, but people will survive that. And perhaps it wouldn't be such a bad idea to have this crash at a global level, because the system itself is a main arm or branch of that whole way that humanity itself is being enslaved. There are all kinds of proposals for alternative systems that have nothing to do with money. I've heard of such as timeshare. Well, not timeshare. That sounds like we're going to go and rent a villa in France or something. But, there are plans that you contribute your services. It's rated. It's worth this much. Then you can go in and you can exchange for food. You could exchange for other services. What I'm getting at is there are alternative systems. What I have to bring forward, because it's what I'm working with, it's what I receive in terms of the information I get, is that the whole corruption, this whole experiment in consciousness is ready to crash. Not just the financial economic systems, but the whole damn thing. And this is going to create the situation in consciousness, in humanity, where we may have to struggle for a month or 2 or 3 or 10 years or 100 years. But the point is, that which has enslaved us, that has been the programmed system for so long, has to crash. The whole thing, not just the economics, not just the religions, not just the political scene. The whole damn thing is coming down.
Yeah, definitely. Right in front of our eyes, we can see it. It's escalating. Now, tell me something. We hear an awful lot of talk about Planet X, Nibiru, and there's two sides of the camp. You have the people who say it's not there, it doesn't exist, and don't worry about it. You have other people saying, yes, it is there, it's a body that's coming in, it's not going to hit the planet, but it will pass by the planet, and it'll be close enough to have an effect on the planet, and obviously part of the event, which we've heard the word being bandied about, and also the pole shift. So what's your take on that?
Well, I do believe in Planet X, Nibiru. Of course, Sitchkin talked about it first of all in his book 12th Planet, and there's been information since then that has come out. Personally, yes, I think this is a cycle we've seen happen to the planet Earth a few times. The flood, there seems to be evidence that Nibiru was coming by at that time, and it created the magnetic shifts and everything. So I do believe that there is such a thing as Planet X, and I do believe Nibiru, Planet X, is incoming. Now, will it impact the planet in such a way that so many are predicting could lead to the final extinction of the planet, of humankind? No, I don't think so. Also, the channeling I do and the information I research also talks about the extraterrestrial influence. And one line of thinking is that these ones that are out there, the Galactic Federation or other groups that are supposedly out there, are actually gearing up to prevent this from occurring. When they say prevent it, they're going to create some kind of shield around the planet that will deflect the worst effect. Doesn't mean we won't go through something. So if that kind of thing is so, and they are there, and Nibiru comes through, then perhaps we will see that we aren't alone in this galaxy, in this universe.
And what's your time scale for Planet X?
I have no time scale. Okay. Quite honestly, I don't really worry about it too much, because if it's coming, there's not a hell of a lot I can do about it. What I can do about is my life, is my personal life, affecting change in my life, expanding my consciousness, expanding my connection to my spiritual source. That's what I can do now. I do not choose to energize a timeline of belief that has as its basis that the planet is going to go through the radical event of Nibiru almost destroying it. I will choose rather, and I do choose rather, to believe and know in the power of belief that the experience of my future will not include that event. Now, I know that that's a very kind of crazy thing to say, and a lot of people will right away say, oh, that's ridiculous. How can you just say I'm not going to believe in it? It sounds like I'm in denial, you know? But the point around it is, I think that's part of the paradigm shift that is underway, that we're starting to realize that we are actually creator beings, that we actually have the capacity to create the reality of experience and timeline of experience. I also believe there's many different timelines. So for someone else who wants to believe that Nibiru is coming, someone else who wants to believe economic crash is coming, someone else who wants to believe that we're in a police state and they're taking all our powers away as they enslave us and then lead us to the concentration camps. If those are the negative realities they wish to experience or timelines that they wish to experience, well, God bless them. But it's not the way I believe. And I cannot tell anyone to believe what I believe. I can only tell you that each of us has the capacity to shift. And there is a force in consciousness that is coming in right now that is assisting that process of evolution. You know, a lot of people believe that the future is going to be a technical one. More technology, transhumanism and everything. Well, I don't believe that the real future for humanity is going to be technological advancement. It may be that timeline that a person wishes to have on it, and they may experience it. But my timeline, my belief, is that the future is a spiritual revolution, a spiritual evolution that is underway. And it's going to take us to a place unrecognizable to us. Well, in fact, most of us won't and can't even imagine it right now.
Well, I was going to say timelines. You actually said it there about different timelines. We had Tony Winavero on the show who actually said the same thing. And it is very hard to do. I'll just remember that when I'm being thrown in the back of a police car, I'll just say, this isn't happening. I'm on a different timeline. Although the guardie might look at me and think he's a nutter. Okay.
Okay, I'd say to that, if I can jump in real quick.
Yeah.
Is that the timeline you've created is that reality that you'll be thrown into the back of a police van. How about if we don't even envision that? How about if we don't even hold that? That's just not my reality. I'm not saying it couldn't happen to people. I'm just saying it's not my reality.
Yeah. No.
Now,
yeah.
Yeah?
No, Tony said that Tony was on, and we had Tony Monavero on, and he talked to us about that, and he said the same thing about, you know, you're changing your consciousness because of these multiple timelines, and just, you know, start focusing on the timeline you want to be on. You know, think about what way you want your life to go. All the positive things that you want to happen in your life and the society you want to live in, and focus on that. And that's really the goal.
I would be in agreement. The real trick isn't even having to create and visualize exactly how it's going to look. It's easier than that. It's holding that this can happen. It is staying in that positive place. It is staying in that place of balance. Another important thing is, if we are creators and we get drawn in to the mass belief that's held, especially as it's mind control anyway, and it's programmed, and if we get dragged into the negativity and the fear, this is the thing that's killing humans more than anything else, is their fear. And if you get dragged into a fear of future and a fear of this and a fear of that, then you're not going to be positive, but as a creator being, you're going to create that negative future. Because energy goes where the focus and attention goes.
Exactly. What you concentrate on expands. So you have to change the focus. Will, we're going to go over, we have a few questions there from our listeners, so we're going to go over to the questions. Steve's going to shoot them over to you there.
Excellent.
Okay, well, first question is from, actually, I can't remember who it's from, but it's does Will believe there was another planet between Mars and Jupiter that got blown up somehow and created the asteroid belt?
Absolutely. That was the planet Tiamat, and the asteroid belt itself is evidence of it. I mean, they have done measurements, don't ask me how, from here, but they have done measurements of the mass they have found on that on the asteroid belt, and they've determined there was a planet there at some point. Now, Sitchkin and others have stated that Tiamat was destroyed in one of the incomings of Nibiru, and one of the moons of Nibiru that was dragged along smashed into it, and as a result, the whole planet was destroyed. Well, it may have been that, I don't know. But something destroyed it, and I do believe that there were, I think it was a civilized planet on top of it. I think that many of them left the planet in time, and some went to Mars, some came to Earth. And that becomes a very interesting thing when you think, where does our origins really come from?
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. I've actually seen something quite recently, Will, and it's again, the person who said it suggests that they think NASA are going to make a big discovery. Well, they're going to make a big announcement as early as tomorrow, saying that they've actually found life on Mars.
Well, if anything about the jump rooms is true, and what certain people like Corey Good, for example, have been saying, there's already life on Mars, and it's not just humans. There's lots of humans there, supposedly have been shipped up there through the jump rooms. There's the reptilians, there's the mantid ones. So I don't think that NASA is about to disclose that. I think their big discovery of life is they're going to find some kind of bacterial life.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a little bit more happening up there than what NASA is going to tell us. They're one of the biggest deceivers and misdirectors going, for Pete's sakes.
Oh, I totally agree. Well, based on what we've seen, actually, I wasn't going to ask this question, but it comes up time and time again. But the fact that you've mentioned NASA being deceivers, I'm going to throw the question in because it's one of those ones that it's interesting to me. But, you know, I'm still sitting on the fence. But it's about the flat Earth. I mean, what's your kind of thoughts on the Earth? Is it a spinning ball at 1,000 miles an hour going through space, or is it a flat plane?
Well, that's a very interesting one. We've come across that one recently too. And personally, I think it's a sphere. I think it's hollow, but not hollow as just a big hollow space. I think it's catacombed and everything. There may be a central sun in the very center. I'm not quite certain on that. But I think there's life down in the Earth itself. Okay, that doesn't address the flat Earth thing. But what I'm saying is that if we're a sphere, there's as much happening inside as there is on the surface. I personally think that this whole flat Earth thing has more to do with where you're viewing Earth from. If you were working with consciousness and you were viewing the planet Earth from a fourth dimensional state of consciousness, the shape would not necessarily be spherical. That's something that is relevant to a third dimensional state of being. And that's why I also then believe that all planets and the sun, moon, they're spherical. Okay?
Yeah.
But if I was looking perhaps at those same bodies that from the fourth dimension here, that they may not present themselves as spherical, they may present themselves as discs. Okay?
Yeah.
Flat Earth. You know, I was a fan about, what's his name, Terry Cricket, the Disc World. Thought they were brilliant. You know, this concept of sailing over the edge of the world. But I don't think we have to worry about that. I don't think that we'll sail over the edge of the planet because it's a flat Earth. I think it is a sphere.
Can I add to something? I don't know much about the flat Earth. I haven't really looked into it, but there was a comment that was made during the week which I thought was very appropriate. And the guy said, look, even if there is a flat Earth, what can you do about it? And what are you going to do about it? And I thought, well,
nothing. Yeah.
I said that's quite relevant. I mean, how's it going to affect my life, even if it is flat? So
Exactly.
I think that was a fair comment.
The same with Nibiru. I mean, if that's coming in, if that's incoming, it doesn't matter whether it's round, spherical, flat, or square. If it's going to hit us, it's going to hit us.
Exactly.
You know?
Right.
So it's heading towards us, and we're all debating like what's the shape.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what else do you have there? You have more questions there for?
Yeah, I have another question from Chris. Thanks, Chris. Chris is wondering, with all the information that you have, Will, how can you be sure that this is not the information is not being used? Sorry, that the channel is not being used to give you false information.
Well, I'll say this: I can't be sure, but what I can say is this, and it has been the guideline for my life, is that I don't believe anything and everything. Okay?
Yeah.
I question. And this source of consciousness that works through me, and it's a force of consciousness, incidentally, it's not an entity or being, it's a collective force of consciousness, has said since the beginning when I first started the organization, Cosmic Awareness Communication, when I was a member, and they were the channelers at that time, certain ones were channeling, I took over years later. But the point is, right from the beginning, and even now, very much every time awareness has anything to say about it, it says, don't believe this source. Don't believe this awareness. Ask questions. Go out there, take responsibility, do your research. Weigh it up, feel it up. We have something that is a bullshit detector in our belly, okay?
Yeah.
And that bullshit detector often does react to something. How often have we had a gut reaction, a gut feeling about something? How often when you've heard something that feels like the truth, you feel it in your body? It's like, yes, that works for me. That's right. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm not asking anyone to believe anything Cosmic Awareness has to say because it says the same thing. Don't just believe everything. Go out and question. Take responsibility. And if it works for you, fine. But always balance it up. Use your own intuitive processes, your ability to discern. We have to be discerning. There are a lot of people out there, unfortunately a lot of channelers out there, that are presenting information. Everyone's jumping on the bandwagon, and everyone's saying, oh my God, they predicted there was going to be an earthquake. They predicted the tsunami. What was the one, Alan, you told me about before we started? This prediction.
The asteroid is supposed to hit on the 23rd and 24th.
That's right. Someone's predicted it, and everyone's not paying attention. They're not asking questions. They're not looking at this and saying, does that feel right to me? No, they're jumping on a bandwagon. They're being bagged by it.
Well,
okay?
we can go back to YouTube now and have a look at all the videos that predicted 23rd, 24th for asteroids, and if people feel like making a comment, and it's gas because 2012 was the same thing when you go back and you see all the videos saying, oh, it's doom and gloom in 2012, and that's why we have to sit on the fence. And a couple of times we've said to people, right, next week this has been predicted. If we don't If we don't see it, have a great life, you know, and that's it, bye-bye.
Yeah, we've had a lot of comebacks.
We've had a lot of comebacks, so we say, and then the next week comes and we come on the air. So that's why we can't take any date serious, because all the dates that they talk about, it just comes back, and the next week we have their show and our show and everything else. So, you know, so you have to take it with a pinch of salt, you know.
Well, I don't take dates seriously. Cosmic awareness does not predict any dates. It's just saying there's change coming, all kinds of change. Now, what do you want to energize? What do you want to believe? You know, we can't actually say an asteroid didn't hit on some timeline, but it's not my timeline. Because it's not my timeline, I haven't had that experience, and personally, I don't think I would have even worried about it. Well, I certainly wasn't. I wasn't even aware of it, that particular prediction. But that's the danger with predictions and following predictions. Because if you follow them, you may actually have some kind of weird experience. But most of us don't worry about it, don't believe in them, don't follow them, and we don't experience them. But then, is it right to say, you were wrong? It's never going to happen because you predicted it and it didn't happen. Well, all I can say to that is, if you're in your own power, and you are a creator being, and it is how you focus your energy, then you're not going to necessarily have the experiences that others are predicting. You're not giving your power away. You're actually claiming your own power to create your own destiny. There's a lot that works with that. It's not just some airhead type concept. This is the law of metaphysics that is now expressing itself in concrete form, and it's becoming more and more obvious all the time. A lot of us are starting to have experiences where we really think about something and bang, it happens.
Yeah, well, one thing that people have been saying, that whether they are aware of the energies hitting the planet or not, a lot of people are having problems sleeping, they're getting headaches, their diet has changed with food, and a number of other issues. And, you know, what people are saying, again, there's no way I can confirm it, but they're saying that this is all part of the energy hitting the planet, and these are the changes that are taking place, and people are feeling it.
Well, this planet is electromagnetic in origin, in a way. And these are being shifted. You talked about the Schumann resonance and all that. They are being shifted. But we are also electromagnetic beings, okay? So when the electromagnetic forces are shifted or changed, solar flares, chromal events, a wave of gamma radiation, X-wave coming through, it is shifting our planet's gamma fields, our planet's electromagnetic fields, I should say, and we are, as above, so below, a reflection of that. So it's affecting us as well. Yes, many, many people I've talked to, fatigue, undue fatigue, mind drain, you know how our minds go to mush, just can't think straight, aches and pains, digestive problems, anxiety, a sense of anticipation of something. I could go on and on. But there's so many different ways that we're experiencing something, but we don't have the fabric in which to place that so that we can cover it all up and say, this is what it is.
Yeah, and I think also, Will, that a lot of people, as you say, they know something's going on. Right? I won't say something's going to happen, but they know something's going on, and we've all been saying it to ourselves that I wish it would hurry up and happen so we can move on. It's like we're waiting for something to happen, and a lot of people have been saying that as well.
Absolutely. And I think that's because within each and every human being, at some deep, deep level, because we are far more than just a physical body. I mean, we have the subconscious, low self, as it's called in Huna. The low self, or subconscious, is that which works with the physical. It provides the interface for a third-dimensional reality so that we can exist in this third-dimensional state. Then we have that which is our identity, our consciousness. That's the middle self. And then we have that which is the high self, the spiritual part, that isn't really in the body at all, but is a link force to our higher collective being. Now, if that is a new way of envisioning ourselves, then perhaps we have also a new way of existing in this world. But what's happening, or what has happened, is that we have been programmed to believe certain things. First of all, we think we're only physical and we have no effect on the environment whatsoever. Okay? We think that we're victims. Things always happen to us. And guess what? You believe that, it's going to be so.
Yeah.
So it's incredibly important to realize maybe the whole damn picture is wrong that we've been sold. And maybe it's time to tune into a new picture, a new set of rules and laws that will regulate or prescribe for us a reality that is so different than anything we've ever said is so. Now here's the problem.
Okay.
Here's the problem. You can believe this. Now you tell your neighbor and see what kind of reaction you get from them when you talk this dribble. Because that's what they'll call it.
Yeah, well, we've talked about the psychology of dealing with we talk about the fluid belief system and how to approach it from a psychological point of view, and that is the best way to approach it. Time and time again, if you use that method, that's, it's the best way to approach it. But the one thing I was going to say to you is, we had David Wilcox and Curry Good on the show, and David and Curry were talking about the DNA activation, the fact that we have 12 strands, that only 2 are active, and that the other 10, because of this energy wave, is going to activate the other 10. And they said that there was an experiment done with a salamander and a frog in laboratory conditions, and that's the same wave that was used, transferred the DNA from the salamander to the frog. And this is part of the wave, part of the upgrade which we're going to experience. Have you heard about that, about the DNA?
I certainly haven't heard about the salamander and frog. It sounds like a fairy tale to me, actually. The salamander and the frog. The shift in consciousness does very much include opening up those 10 recessive, or what they often call garbage DNA, opening it up. There was a process that occurred to mankind several 100,000 years ago where we actually had access to the 12 strands and that they were shut down. This is one way of looking at it. But what if the opposite is now about to begin? What if this shift in consciousness, and incidentally, this wave is not the be-all and end-all. There's going to be more after it. This is like an ocean wave that has come in, it's pretty high, and then it recedes, and then another even higher is going to hit. So we're on an ongoing process right now. But what if these waves are bringing our reality of consciousness to a new peak, a new level, where these recessive genes, this garbage gene, DNA, is actually restored back to humanity? If that is so, then new powers will open up that we may have once had in that fabled golden age, and that we are going to reach a new level of capacity to be more. It's not going to happen overnight, folks. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but it is ongoing. And I think that's the important thing, is that as we start to develop this connection to the inner source, to me that includes the connection, an active connection with the subconscious, an active connection with the high self spiritual consciousness, and a realization of who we really are. When that happens, then the activation of the 10 extra genes, DNA codes rather, will also happen.
Right, okay. Well, they're saying that the activation of the DNA will give us the abilities of clairvoyance, clairsentience, clairaudience, levitation, telekinesis, and a number of other things. How we apply these abilities is down to the individual, I think.
Absolutely, because first of all, most individuals wouldn't even accept that that could be so, because it's fantasy. So you have to change your own belief system to even accept that such thing could happen. All right?
Yeah.
The second thing is that you have to understand that as we work with this, we're going to get more and more evidence. But we are at a threshold point. And this threshold point is one we have to actually take a leap of faith from. If you're not willing to take that leap of faith, if you're not willing to say, maybe I can be something more, then it's not going to happen. To me, it's not anymore what if. Because that's really what we're talking about. What if this could happen? What if this was so? What if that happened? No. It's no longer what if. It's why not? Why not? Why should we carry on limiting ourselves and denying something that once was so and is meant to be again?
Yeah, well, we're on this curve, aren't we? We're on the up. We're in the age of Aquarius, and we're on the curve going up towards the golden age at the moment. So there's no reason why we're not going to have these abilities. But as you say, it's not going to be something overnight. It's going to be something that will take time. I think it's the next. I think the curve is it 26,000 years, and then the curve starts changing again, starts going down.
That's right. Yeah, the great cycle, Kali Yuga, and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And supposedly we've come out of the dark phase.
Yeah.
But it's 26,000 year cycle, and it takes us 13,000 years to complete this part. And we've just barely come out of the dark part. We're just at the very infant stage. The first steps have been taken. There's a journey ahead of us, folks. But hey, I can only worry about the remainder of my life and what I can accomplish here and now. Yeah. And I'll stay focused on that.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough. We have a few more questions for you there, so we go off to Steve.
Yeah, well, when you spoke earlier about the planet Tiamat, Hammy has a question. Hammy is wondering, if Tiamat did explode and used to be a water planet, what was the deluge us orbiting into the water from it?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I don't know. But if that water went away from the planet because the planet didn't exist, expelled outwards, it could well have reached Earth. But would it have come as water? Not likely. It would have come as ice. So it might have been some of the big asteroids that supposedly hit Earth about 80,000 years ago. Yeah. You know, we're talking even further back. So it could well have been something to do with the frozen waters of Tiamat. Okay. I know that there is a theory that suggests that our moon, which is actually too big for this planet, we shouldn't have such a large moon. There is a theory that it was dragged from the asteroid belt. And again, these measurements I spoke of earlier seem to indicate a percentage of it is missing, and that percentage that's missing from the actual asteroid belt is that which the moon actually possesses or is. And that it was dragged into position where it is for certain reasons. It's hollow, it's not even, solid, and that it was dragged there for the purpose of affecting mankind. So if that could happen, then perhaps water could have come onto this planet.
Yeah. I suppose it's plausible. Speaking of the moon, this is just, again, off the cuff. I've heard people say before, and allegedly it's a proven fact, that the moon and the position of the moon has an effect on the tides on planet Earth. And a question came up there on another forum many moons ago, and there's many moons ago.
No pun intended.
Yeah, no pun intended. That was a little bit of a... I didn't even realise I was making a joke. Anyway, but they're saying that between the Earth and the Moon at so many thousand feet or miles or wherever it may be, they're saying that there are supposed to be satellites in what's known as geostationary orbit. And if the Moon has such an effect on the Earth in relation to the seas and all that sort of thing, then why does it not pull the satellites out of geostationary orbit? If it's so powerful.
That's an interesting one. I think perhaps because it is dealing with these geomagnetic waves, and it causes fluctuation. Gotta be careful about that one, folks. Fluctuation in these waves, these lines that we see them coming from the top down to the bottom, north to south, whatever. It could be that it's affecting them, and it then becomes the geomagnetic waves themselves that affect the tidal waves and the earth waves. But because this going back to the whole electromagnetic nature of our being, because it's very interesting that the moon has always been known to affect humans. I mean, the term lunacy is in reference to the fact that people go slightly crazy in a full moon. And incidentally, we are in a full moon right now. Well, at least we are here in Australia, not there in Ireland.
Yeah, we are here, yeah.
It be the supermoon and the blood moon. The blood moon, ooh, that's spooky.
Yeah, we have a supermoon here. People will be able to see. You have to go out about 1 o'clock tonight, and you'll be able to see the blood moon. But as you said, I'm glad you were talking about that, because the moon has an effect in their tides. So you get these astrologers and people saying about the moon and how it can affect us, and people say, well, how is that? Well, if you think about it this way, our body is made up of 73% of water. And if the moon affects the water and the tides on the planet, and we're made up of water, of course it's going to affect us.
Exactly, and if you add to that the whole electromagnetic nature of our being also, that it's also interacting with the waters. So those are two factors that most of science never really deals with it, and most people don't think about it, but this is how we can be affected by these energies, like the moon or other planets. We're talking about subtle energies. We're talking about energies that are gross enough to move the tides on the planet, the seas of the planet, the oceans, up and down by great amounts in some places. And we can't accept that maybe if they can actually move the waters on this planet, that they can't affect us at some subtle level.
Yeah.
This is why we need to change our thinking on this, because we have become too limited and restricted and defined by the beliefs that are popular in science, and that this is a great limitation as far as I'm concerned.
Well, we're thinking outside the box more with quantum physics and multidimensional realities, which we're getting to know about, because that wasn't really something that was talked about, but we're getting more information about it and beginning to learn more about it, and it's becoming more of a day-to-day thing. When you're talking to people about it, they're getting to accept it more, and maybe this is part and parcel of our learning curve. But we have a few more questions for you there, Will, so I'll pass you over to Steve.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say thanks to Lorraine Gallagher on People's Internet Radio chat room there, because Lorraine says, and I think this is nice, she said, this planet will last long after we're gone. And she says the planet heals herself. I'm guessing she's obviously speaking about Mother Earth. Well, I hope that's true. I really do. A nice sentiment there, Lorraine. Karen suggests that we look up at the skies. And, Will, I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on the chemtrail phenomenon. Is that something you can talk about?
Oh, absolutely. Don't mind talking about it. It's been going on for about 20 plus years, and I remember when it started, and you would dare ever suggest someone that these chemtrails are up there. They denied it because, of course, most people would just say, oh, no, those are contrails. Yeah. But we've had 20 years of bombardment now, and they've never been officially acknowledged, of course not. But there are people who are talking about it who have authority, and more people are starting to think there's something wrong here. So more people are awakening to this. 20 years, and that's not too bad, I guess. But yes, definitely, they have an agenda. What is that agenda? Because a lot of people think and say, oh yeah, they're dropping all kinds of viral agents on us, and Magellan's, and Lyme's disease, and all these things are chemtrail induced or laid down through the chemtrails. And I think they are using that on one level to affect the health and well-being of humans, because it's always easier to deal with humans that don't have maximum health and well-being, and they make a lot of money on it. I hate to say, but they make a lot of money in the medical industry because of it. So there's that one level. Then they seem to be also changing the soil pH levels. Normally, acidic levels in the soils are not good for plants and things, and it's an alkaline is usually the soil composure, and they're trying to make it into acidic. So there seems to be some evidence that this is part of what this is also about. And then you have companies like Monsanto, who just happen to be making seeds for more acidic soil conditions. Isn't that interesting?
Well, it's terraforming, isn't it? Really, that's what Kerry Caskey was talking about.
It's terrifying also.
Well, that's a good one. Now, what's your take on all this water that's gone missing? In California, Dabu7 on YouTube did a report there about that lake in California, where one day everybody was seeing the lake, they were fishing on the lake. The next day they turn up and all the water's gone. Do you think there is something definitely coming down the line, and they're taking the resources before something happens?
Well, I would just say this: if they wanted water, why wouldn't they just take it from something like the Great Lakes? Fresh water wouldn't be noticed very much. Or how about the ocean? If they could desalinate it, why couldn't they just take it from the ocean? No, this story doesn't impress me too much, especially since California has been in this drought condition for a long time. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I've not really heard much about it. But I don't think it's exactly what some people are claiming it to be. I think the drought has more to do with that one.
Right, okay, because we obviously have issues over here where they're trying to privatise their water and sell it over here in Ireland. Mm-hmm. And there's major issues over here in Ireland because, we already pay for our water in our taxes, and they're trying to charge us again. And again, the person who's behind this is a billionaire, Dennis O'Brien. He's part of the Trilateral Commission, and he's obviously in there with the elite somewhere. And there's major protests all over Ireland trying to stop them installing meters and trying to charge us for the water. And it's just ridiculous. But we know they're saying that water is the new blue gold because that's a commodity that they want to buy up and you want to have control of. So there is a global issue with the water. I don't think it's just California. I think there's other countries going through this as well.
I agree. I mean, you're looking at a situation. Australia's had extreme drought in the central part for a long time, in Queensland, Northern Territories has been in drought conditions for 6-7 years, pretty extreme. So this is part of that, you said terraforming a little while ago. One of the things they are doing is, in the chemtrails, it didn't quite get to this, but it ties so nicely into this part, is they're also creating a shield that is changing the weather, okay? And they add to that, or you could add to that, the HARP technology and Tesla technology, advanced technologies, which are changing the climatic conditions. I mean, this whole drought that's happening, going back to the States now for a moment, in California and everything, is HARP controlled. Normally, the jet stream would go over the western coast and go into the Midlands of the states, the middle central states, and go that way. And yet there's been a kind of HARP-created fence, if you will, that has actually shifted the jet stream so it's going up north, up into Alaska, up around the top and down central, the Arctic, down through Canada into the central areas. And it's creating not only the drought in California, but the excessive rain and snow in eastern USA and in Canada. Okay?
Yeah.
So this is being manipulated. This is being controlled. And the point around it is there are servants to the masters, if you will. They're not my masters, I'll tell you that. But for the politician you mentioned, the millionaire, billionaire, he's serving someone. And he's getting rewarded for it. And we have to see, and it's becoming more obvious. This is the interesting thing. We're beginning to see these ones who are so greedy that they are not just taking, a cut from the top. They're taking the whole damn pie. And then they want more.
Yeah.
And then they want you to bake them more pie so they can take them too. No, it's time. It's time. We've got to say enough. This madness must end. And, with the other part of the work I do and the metaphysical, spiritual work where I draw the energies from those higher sources and the information is presented, the information is saying it is ending. It's done. It's done. We just have to know this. We have to shift our way of thinking, understand how we create our realities, and trust and have faith that there is a force in consciousness that we have been brainwashed to believe does not exist. Sure, they give us religion, but they don't give us spirit. They don't give us a way of connecting to our true spirit. It was once the way of humans to know how to be spiritually connected. It was their very nature. And that was taken.
Yeah, yeah.
That is what's coming back. And that is the miracle. That is the wonder and the joy.
Well, talking about the whole spiritual thing, somebody said to me, I think it was a family member said to me that there seems to be a lot of priests worldwide committing suicide for some reason.
Mm.
And
No, hell, you've been committing gross indecencies and sinning against the faith that you've been trained in for so long. Maybe it's something of their conscience that is finally saying, I can't do this. I can't carry on this way. It might be that.
And do you think they're realising that they've been tricked or conned, that the whole religious thing is just a farce?
I'm going to go actually into the Freemasons for a moment, not the priesthood, not the Catholic Church or other churches. In the Freemasons, most come in and they're just ordinary Freemasons. They don't know. They've gone through the initial initiations. Okay?
Yeah.
But as you go higher in the organization, and this kind of structure does exist in the Catholic Church, as you go higher, you become informed of more, and you make higher pledges, committing yourself even more to this.
Yeah.
And as you go higher, 33rd degree Mason, of course, is at the pinnacle. You're so in depth to the system, in the system, owned by the system, that this is the way you live your life.
Yeah.
Okay? The same exists with the church. You start off as a priest, and then you go further. Each step, more comes to you, or you're told. Need to know, I think, is the way that it's often explained.
Yeah.
You don't need to know what exists up there. And that is, of course, the classic way to make sure for the people in power at the top that the minion at the bottom doesn't know what the hell's happening, because each successive stage only knows so much. They don't know what is in the level above them.
Yeah. Well,
the one at the top knows that.
That's the same structure as a corporate company. You have your staff, your middle management, senior management, and directors, and they all know a little bit of the pie, but the only people that know exactly what's going on is the board of directors at the top. So, and the government is no different with the party whip system. But what I'm going to do is, I think Steve has a few more questions there. Steve?
Yeah, I do. This is just kind of an expansion from the previous question in relation to the chemtrails. It's from Karen, and Karen's actually over in the US of A. She's in Oregon, and she's saying she would like to not believe in chemtrails, but her point is they do exist and they do harm. She's wondering what your thoughts are on that.
I'm going to actually share with you something that happened for my wife and I. We live in a small town in Western Australia. It's called Denmark, oddly enough. But Denmark, Western Australia, is not on the flight paths. We don't have any of the jets going over us or anything like that. All right?
Yeah.
And yet one day we came home. It was a brilliant day, beautiful blue sky, and we looked up and there was a chemtrail. And the plane, we could see him. I have never in my life actually seen it so clearly. There it was. You could see the jet itself and this plume behind it, okay? And I said to my wife, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're just going to visualize it's gone. The trail is gone, okay?
Yep.
And that's what we did. And this was a long trail. It wasn't just a few meters. It extended 2-3 miles back. And we stood there. We projected this thought. I saw the jets blocking up, where they eject the spray from. And we looked, opened our eyes, looked, the trail was gone. It was gone, disappeared. Okay?
Yeah.
We can actually do this. And this is something that I've had many people actually write me about and share with me, that they've had these experiences where they have projected their thoughts and the trails have disappeared. So, if you want to believe that, it's there. Try it. But if you want to believe you can't do anything, you're only going to be a victim, and these bastards are doing it to you again and again and again, then all you're doing is giving your power away. You're not discovering that you may have the capacity to actually disappear things like chemtrails.
But
Elvis disappeared clouds all the time. This is just one step up.
So basically what you're saying is that if Karen in Oregon or me, for argument's sake, if I just, is it enough for one person to do it? Does it have to be two people or more? If we just visualize that it's gone, will it just disappear? And what if it doesn't disappear? Does that mean we're not doing it correctly? Or what should we do?
Now, this is a tricky one, and I'm glad you brought it up. There is involved a certain degree of faith and trust that you can do this. If you don't have this, if there's this part of you, you're sending out this thought, I'm going to disappear this chemtrail, and there's that gut feeling saying, no, you're not. That's bullshit. That's stupid. You can't do that. Well, I'm sorry, but you're probably not going to have a lot of result. You really have to hit it with the power of belief that you can do this. And that's our capacity, but we have to train ourselves for that. We have to develop the capacity of belief that we can do these kind of magical things. If you can hold that, then that is very much possible.
Is that belief something that can be learned? Is it something that's learned over a lifetime, or is it something that can be learned kind of, let's say, over a weekend?
I'll tell you what is learned over a lifetime is your limitation, is what you can't do, is that you are a victim, that it's a negative world. Shit happens, suffering happens, pain happens. That you are taught over a lifetime. This other part, yes, you can be taught it in a weekend because it is there to be learned. Does it mean that you will be the master in a weekend? No, not at all. But you can teach the principles. I do that with the psychology work that I do, the counseling work I do. I call it trinary regression therapy. And I teach people how to get in touch with those three parts of themselves so that they can start shifting, so they can open themselves up, so that they can actually become competent magicians, let's say that. Okay?
Yeah.
Or certainly competent human beings. And not the victims of those who have controlled and manipulated, not their food, not their energy source, because they feed off of us left, right, and center, folks. Free human beings with the capacity to step into realities beyond that which most endorse as reality, plain and simple. That's it. You're physical. Shit happens to you. You suffer, and then you die.
So would it be fair to say, Will, that when we're kind of, every country on the planet, I think, is preoccupied with some atrocity or something that's going on, and a lot of countries, it's austerity measures. Do you think that the fact that governments introduce austerity measures and we believe we don't have a choice, it weakens our immune system, it brings us down, we're at a low ebb, do you believe that by us being in that state of mind that we ourselves are helping this continue, we're adding to it? And would it be fair to say that if we were to just, as you suggest, change our mindset, have some training and believe in the positives, that collectively that we could make a difference, we could change, we could kind of believe our way out of austerity?
Absolutely. First of all, you just have to stop believing in austerity, okay? Because that's really what you're doing. When they're selling you the packet and they say you have to do this and you have to do that, and you're buying into it. Look at the great Prime Minister there. I mean, here he promised his people, I'm going to take you out of this. We'll say no to him. And then he went up to the conference up in Germany, wherever he went, might have been France. And suddenly he turned around, betrayed his people, stabbed them in the heart, and said, yeah, okay, we're going to do what you want us to do. And then they just re-elected him last week, which I thought was highly crazy of them. But the point is, the leaders here now, are the servants for these ones who want this agenda to be served. And they sell it to the people, and the people either buy into it or they reject it. Greece is an interesting case because there's a lot of people who are rejecting it. But let's look at the United States. Let's look at Ireland, Europe. Many of us are thinking, you have no choice. You got to tighten the belt because you know what? Life is about sparsity. It is not about abundance. That's what they teach you. Fear of sparsity. Everything will be taken. You won't have enough. I've got to hold on. These are belief systems. This is like we have been programmed from day one to believe this. We're not programmed to believe we are abundant. Spirit is abundant. So, hey, I'm spirit. I have abundance in my life. You know, and you say this to someone and they, just because they actually are set in that paradigm, they can't believe it. And of course, it's not their reality. So it doesn't matter if I say this or not. It's not their reality. They're not going to believe it. That's why we are forced sometimes to make steps that at first are difficult for us because we almost don't believe it could be so. But if you can learn to make the little steps and not quantum leap steps each and every time, although sometimes that's called upon, it's called upon to do that, but just little steps. And then as these little steps, you know, add up, they become a bigger step and bigger steps. And at one stage, sooner or later, you're going to look back to who you were, what you believed 20 years ago, 5 years ago, 5 months ago, and you're going to say, wow, that was me then. This is it.
Yeah.
It's a progressive thing. It's not simply, oh yeah, you're going to wake up, the wave goes through, and tomorrow the world's different. People thought that was going to happen on the 2012 solar eclipse. I'm sorry, the 2012, December 21st lunar eclipse, solstice. That's what I'm going for. I must be getting tired because it's getting later.
Yeah,
but
must
anyway,
be.
So many thought it was going to be instantaneous. The world would change, and maybe they'd be on the cloud playing the harp. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it didn't that way. It didn't happen that way.
No, it didn't happen, and that's why we have to make sure that we keep an open mind, as we always say to people. Keep an open mind, and you know, there's no harm entertaining the thought. We said it last week, and we'll say it again. Aristotle said, the mark of an educated mind is to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. So entertain it and, you know, ask for the evidence or the information, and then use your own discernment and common sense and gut feeling as to whether it resonates with you. But you don't have to believe it, but to be able to entertain it. Because if you go and challenge somebody's belief system and they won't entertain your new information that goes against what they believe, then what will happen is that means the programming has worked for them. They've closed down, they have a closed mind. And we've talked about this before on the show, about the psychology of how people think and how people react to new information and belief systems. Now, myself and Steve we call it the fluid belief system, because if information comes in today and it contradicts what we heard yesterday, well, we'll just take it on board. We'll research it and have a look at it and ask for the evidence and the facts and stuff like that. And if we feel it resonates with us, we'll take that on board. So we're not defending any belief system, and that's the way we approach it from a psychological point of view.
And I agree with that. That's coherent to how I believe that you have to ask questions. You always have to be open. You don't have to convert, but you have to be open. You don't have to attack someone else because they have their belief. It works for them, but it doesn't work for me. So I don't have to take somebody else's belief system, but I can listen to what they're saying. That's just common decency on one level.
Yeah, of course.
But what happens is that we have entrenched belief systems, and we have lived our lives, all of our lives, in accordance to this faith. And then someone comes along and says, well, that's all wrong. And if they're right, if they're actually right, it is all wrong. We have then the opportunity to change. But most of us don't, because we don't want to be shown we have lived our lives and we just wasted them. Because I believed in this system that I had to work hard all my life, get up every day, put the nose to the grindstone, get into work, you know, do a shit job that I don't even like. And all I had to do is believe I don't need to do that. I'm going to call in abundance. And then they may actually find, well, what they'll normally do is defend their belief system. Doesn't matter that it's wrong. It's their belief system. They don't want to be told it was wrong. And they'll attack you.
Yeah.
That's why so many will attack you for just voicing even marginal beliefs that challenge them. Because they don't want to hear it, because they might have to change, or they might have to admit that, hey, I've been wrong in this.
Yeah.
And humans don't like to do it. It's one of those things that have been bred into them.
Yeah. Well, it's the same with the legal system. If you go and challenge somebody from like a solicitor or lawyer, barrister, you know, if they spent all them years studying and learning and going through exams, and you turn around as a lay litigant and you say, by the way, that's wrong, they'll just look at you as if you have two heads, because one, they don't want their system to fall apart and realise that after all this years of training that they've been told the wrong thing. And then they'll have the arrogance to say, well, who are you? I've spent X amount of years studying this subject, so I'll know more about it than you, which is really ignorance as well.
Created the damn system in the first place to serve them and to serve their masters. Yeah, they study all these years so that they can occupy this position. And incidentally, of course, the medical profession and the medical industry is also the same.
Yeah, they do the same thing. And this is the whole idea. I mean, this is why when you approach it from a psychological point of view, which is what we like doing, if we want to go down that route, because to be honest with you, I don't know about Steve, but I've kind of given up. If people want to know about information, I'll talk to them about it and show them the evidence and show them the proof. And that's the way I do it. But I'm not going to, you know, force people to wake up, because you know yourself, Will, there's people out there that should never be woken up, because they'll be a danger to themselves if they do.
Absolutely. And anyway, who says that what you believe is right for them?
Exactly. I mean, again,
it's right for you.
Yeah, we also say that, you know, everybody's on a path of knowledge, and maybe, you know, somebody might come up to us, and it has happened to us, where they'll tell us something and it just doesn't kick in, it doesn't engage, and maybe a year down the line then it engages, and then we take it on board and we run with it. So, you know, I think people are ready for the information at the time when it's right, and when it's not right they don't take it on board, because obviously they're not ready for it.
That's an interesting thing, because one of the big things that I live my life by, it's again something that I've come to know through my channeling from cosmic awareness, is the matter of timing, right timing. If you understand that, then you will also understand that you can't push the river. You can't go against something if it's not the right energy or the right timing. So here it is, as you said, your example is brilliant. You tell something to someone and they're not ready for it. The timing's not right. Another year, they've had a little bit more experience, a few things have happened, and they come to that point, and suddenly the timing is right. And the door's open, someone's in the house, and all systems go. Yeah. But if you try to force something, and this is actually one of the things we're taught, you can't simply wait for things to fall into place. You got to go out there and make it happen. You got to make it happen. Forget about nature. We are the masters. We'll make it happen. Yeah. Well, the actual way to work it is just to go with the flow.
Yeah. I don't like that idea, Will. I always say you have to control your life. Don't let life control you.
That's one way of believing it and looking at it. Absolutely.
Right. We have
controlling you. If you have an alignment with life, then you are perfectly in control. You're just not wasting a lot of life force pushing things that may not actually be the right thing. Yeah. This is individual. I'm not saying, Alan, that it's, across the board, everyone, because most of us need to have that feeling they're in control. But what if control looks something completely different to what we've been taught it is? The thing that we're taught is you have to be in control and don't let other factors push you around. But what if those other factors aren't about pushing you around, but guiding you along, guiding you to where you're really meant to be? Too many people are pushing it, and they insist that this is what they're going to do, and it's all about money, it's all about prestige, status, whatever, but it's not about trusting something inside of them that says, you know what, you'd be a very good musician.
Well, I'll tell you, I can
an accountant, because that's what others tell you should be.
Well, I can tell you something that Ralph Ring said to us, and Ralph Ring is an expert on nature, the laws of nature, and the way I kind of perceive it is that if it's easy, then it's natural. If it's forced, then it's unnatural.
That's it. That's it in a nutshell. Thank you.
That's the best. And nature, when nature does things, there's no effort involved because it's nature, it's natural. But when we try and force things, that's where the effort comes in. And I think that's what we have to be aware of. We've got one more question for you, Will, and then we'll let you go because I think you need to sleep. It's very late over there. Steve has one more question for you there.
Yeah, well, final question of the evening/morning. This one came in from Vin on People's Internet Radio in the chat room there. And I've got back onto Vin and asked him had he got a follow-up question for this one, but he hasn't got back onto me. But he just wants to know, have you heard of the electric universe from Thunderbolts?
No.
No. Okay. Neither had I, so I was hoping he had a follow-up question.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
I have to know more about that, and then I could tune in on it. But just strictly speaking, no, I don't know anything about that.
Okay, not to worry. Well, Will...
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, we'll have to try and get the info off Vin. Well, Will, thanks a lot for coming on the show. It's been a very, very brilliant knowledge, great information, a good experience. And again, I hope the listeners enjoyed the show. I know it's late over there, so you're going to have to get some sleep because I don't know. It's about 4:45 in the morning, I think, over there in Australia, which is
early. Well, coming up to 4, I think. So not too bad.
Okay, well, it's still probably late, but okay. Listen, we're going to let you go. Thanks for coming on. We'll send you over the link to the podcast.
It's been a privilege and an honour, and as they say in Ireland, may the path come up to meet you.
Brilliant. Well, I'm going to pass you over to Steve. Steve's going to get all your contact information so people know where to find you. So, Steve?
Yeah, well, it's been absolutely fantastic. The time has flown in, and I'm guessing we would love to do it again with you, kick it around, because it's been great information, great flow of information, and even the questions as well just flowing in. So thank you for that. If people want to find out more about Will Berlinghof, who, as you told me before we came on live, you're no relation to David Hasselhoff. You're not one of the Hoffs. But anyway, if people want to find more information about you or what you're doing, what you're up to, where can they find that information? Have you a website there?
Yes, you can come to our website, and the website is rainbow-phoenix.com. rainbow-phoenix-.com.
Okay, so rainbow-phoenix.com. Okay, well, that's great information. I'm going to post that up in the chat room there, so anyone who's interested will definitely check that out during the week.
Brilliant stuff.
Thanks.
Okay, Will.
It was great.
Brilliant. Okay, Will, stay with us there for a minute. We're just going to go off to a musical break, and we'll be back after this.
This is Open Your Mind Radio on OYMradio.com, UnitedWeStrike.com, and PeoplesInternetRadio.com.
And we're back. Yeah, great information there from Will Berlinghof. His website address is on the chat room there, rainbow-phoenix.com for more information. Yeah, that song Alan asked you to play, it's Ozzy Osbourne and Dreamer. I can't say I've ever heard that song before, but Alan was drumming his way all the way through here on the desk.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good song. I thought it was, all about the earth and stuff like that. Pretty good.
No, good song.
Good guest, Will. Great information from Will there. Now, just a couple of things. We mentioned if anybody has any kind of experience tomorrow, we're not saying that you will, right? But if you have any experience tomorrow, send us an email or contact us and just let us know what that experience is. Obviously, got to do with the energies of the planet and not something that you've eaten, from McDonald's or something and you got sick. We don't want that. But
not that you're saying anything from any restaurant that we're not going to give any names out. No. We're not saying anything is going to make you sick from that particular restaurant.
No, of course not. No, it's quality food there in McDonald's.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So if anything, just out of curiosity, if anything happens, let us know. As I said, we have the full moon, the blood red moon tonight. I think the best time to view it, apparently, is about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. The people are going to be down in the Hill of Tara, and they're going to be down there taking pictures and viewing it and stuff. So if you're down that neck of the woods, you can pop in and go up to the Hill of Tara and see it down there.
Are you going to set your alarm?
No, I'm going to bed because I'm pretty tired. I had a pretty busy day, a lot going on.
Yeah, trust me, he's tired. He's not pretty tired.
I'm not pretty tired.
Yeah.
But, right, okay, so next week, now, on the schedule, I'm sure everybody who went off to the schedule to see who the guest is next week, you'll see a silhouette, and it'll say, to be revealed. Well, to be honest with you, we will reveal the guest, but we're going to reveal the guest on next week's show, when the show starts. Okay, now,
Even I don't know who the guest is.
No, you do know who the guest is.
I was just trying to play it, kind of good cop, bad cop. You just ruined it.
Yeah. No, you have to know, because you'd ask me anyway, wouldn't you? You'd say,
yeah.
So, no, but the only people that know who the guest is, right, is myself and Steve and the guest. Nobody else knows. And there's a reason for it, right? Because we just want to see, if there's a leak somewhere, put it that way. I'm not talking about water, alright? So there's only 3 of us that know about this guest. Now, it's going to be worthwhile coming on because the information is going to be pretty high level stuff, because I have spoke to this guest before on Skype, and some of the information they had was, wow, I thought quite interesting. So it is going to be a good show, and it's going to be good information. But as I say, we can't reveal who the guest is, but it's going to be worth it, okay? Now, that's all really what's going on. As I say, we have tomorrow. Let us know what's going on. If there's anything else that you come across, any links, please let us know, as usual. I didn't ask Will what he thought of the immigration thing going on in Europe. There seems to be, I did post up on Facebook, by the way. Actually, I don't think I'll put it on our OYM Facebook. There's a video out there that somebody did, which is very good, and it says the things that they're not showing you regarding the immigrants. And you want to see what's going on. It's just unbelievable. So I know people are out there going, oh, but, they're refugees and they're war-torn and everything else. I don't have a problem if people need helping, but they've just found a consignment of guns and stuff like that, which were disguised as aid, I think, for these people. And why are a lot of these immigrants young men of fighting age? It begins to make you think. And if you see the things that the media are not showing you, check it out on YouTube. It's going to, it's going to open your eyes to it. There's a lot more going on than what we think. And these countries that are, helping out. One couple had a van, and they pulled up with the van, and they were giving out food to the immigrants. And all of a sudden, all the immigrants jumped into the van, stole everything, and your man had to jump in the front seat of the van and drive off in a hurry.
Wow.
And he was like, you could see he was shaking.
Yeah.
Because of it. And that's one of many instances. So you really have to do your homework, and just, take another look. There's both sides of a coin. There's something going on there, especially when Peter Sutherland is involved in it, But, so again, the water meters are going on. I believe there's a big protest in Meath County Council offices coming up, because all the councillors in County Meath, I don't know about the other counties, they all sold the soul to the devil. They all got paid €12,000 apparently, to not reduce the cost of the property tax. Excuse me. So they all got paid individually 12,000 pieces of silver. So, and keep the property charge at the same level. So I'm amazed at most of these councillors all belong to the mainstream parties. It's like little mini-me's of Enda Kenny. I mean, when can a normal person who has a business background and a bit of cop on and knows what's going on get involved in the council? Why do they have to be all part? That's just control. That's the system controlling the lower levels as well as them controlling the higher levels. Do you not think so?
It is. It's all a game. As I was going to say Alex Jones, not Alex Jones. As I'm having one of those moments. I'm having me spell now, me little turn. I can't remember the chap's name, but as he says, he's actually normally in the chat room. It's all just Bill Hicks. There we go, Bill Hicks. Thank you, Bill. It's all just a ride. I mean, at the end of the day, look, the government controls everything below it, as far as I'm concerned, no matter what it is. And even that thing that we heard of during the week about the social welfare. You probably people in other countries may not be too familiar with the social welfare system, but if you're unemployed and you need money and you have to get by, you get like a handout from the government. It's called social welfare, and I think that's even been cut now. If they're finding out that you're involved in water protests, then your dole, as they call it, will be cut. And if you're asked to do one of these job bridge schemes, which is kind of low paid work, and you refuse, your dole will be cut. And, I think, like, the government, they're controlling that. So they are actually controlling austerity. They're controlling, whether you eat in the morning or whether you don't eat in the morning. As someone posted there in the chat room, if you don't eat for a day, you'll steal. If you don't eat for a week, you'll kill. And I think they're controlling all this, and it's all going to trickle down. Austerity's going to get worse before it gets better. And I reckon that all the police, all the Gardaí, they're all trained, and it's going to be a case of we're all going to end up in a bad way, a bad situation, and the only way forward will be to riot. And I think that's what the Gardaí are
waiting for.
They're preparing for that.
Well, we'll see what happens. Look, take every day as it comes and keep a positive mind. Open up your consciousness. Focus on the life that you want. Try and change your timeline. Think about the world that you want to live in. That's really what we're saying with Will. Don't focus on the negative, or try and avoid as much as you can. I know it's very hard, but try and sit down for a few minutes, close your eyes, and think about, if I designed a society, I wanted to live in a certain society, what society would that be? What would it be like? That's really what you need to focus on. Focus on that and start changing your consciousness. Sure, you might be in the 2.3 billion tomorrow to get an upgrade. You never know. Okay, we're going to let you go. Have a good week. Stay safe. To Sal and James. Take it easy. If you have any news, let us know. We'll catch you next week. Bye bye.
Yeah, I'm looking for that. Looking forward to the upgrade tomorrow. Upgrade 2.3 or whatever it's going to be. So yeah, look, we'll do it all again in 7 days. Stay tuned if you're on the People's Internet Radio stream for Vin. We'll catch you again, same time, same channel next week. Until then, take care. Bye bye.